What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be watching and reacting to Henry Cavill's workout for The Witcher. This is the third installment of my reaction video series of Train Like a Celebrity, so please stick through the entire video.
You can say hello, but I don't need you to like.
Indeed, guys, this is JR Strength and Fitness, your friendly YouTube channel with all of your exercise science needs, your reaction video wants, and of course some exercise tutorial, because why the hell not? So again, this is the third installment of the Train Like a Celebrity reaction video series. So for the other two videos, go check out the link that's up above. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I appreciate the following, the support, and all the other stuff as we grow. And obviously as we grow, we get better. And if we get better, we grow. And it's a continuous cycle. So I appreciate all of that. So tell your old friends about me. Okay, guys, so The Witcher. If you haven't seen The Witcher, I highly suggest. Probably one of my favorite TV shows in the recent memory as far as I can tell. And obviously it stars Henry Cavill. We've seen Henry Cavill in many different roles like Superman, Immortals, etc. And obviously it looks like this dude went some rigorous training in order to get to where he is as far as his roles go. So The Witcher is a different kind of monster all entirely. So I'm curious how they're gonna do the whole training, because obviously he has to be big in Superman, but in The Witcher, I believe he even got bigger for that role than Superman. So I'm curious how the training is going to go. So we're going to watch the video by Men's Health, and then we're going to react to it and give you my whole take. Again, full disclaimer, this is just for reaction. This is for educational, entertainment purposes only, and not exercise prescription. Even though I am an exercise professional, I highly suggest you go see a physician and someone you will actually write a check to. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the video. All right, guys, let's get it.
Hi everyone, I'm Henry Cavill and I play Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher. I'm here today to talk about some of my training and how it has differed over the years, especially from movies like Immortals and Superman up until now in The Witcher. I'm going to show you some of my movements with my trainer that applied to my weights regime. Every morning I started with fasted cardio, and then I did a weight training regime which happened whenever I could fit the workout in with my schedule. And I'm going to show you some of those movements now.
All right, let's talk about that fasted cardio initially. So yes, fasted cardio has seen some benefits for some people. It's not like it has an over-encompassing effect on everyone the exact same way. Some people have done fasted cardio and seen benefits. Some people have done fasted cardio and not seen some benefits. For some people, they do it to, in a sense, lose weight, lose fat. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, and I'm not gonna say it works entirely for everyone. I believe every individual will feel something significantly different. If you feel like you have a little excess fat and a little fasted cardio in the morning, you can do that with your schedule, and it's not detrimental to your strength gains. It's not going to necessarily affect your muscle gains, especially if you eat properly, the right protein, etc. In a sense, it's not like it's like going to work for everyone, and it's not like it doesn't work. I've definitely done it and it worked for my benefit, but that's just me.
This is my trainer Dave Rienzi, and he has guided me through a couple years now of various programs, and for The Witcher in particular we had to focus on things which would support the level of stunt work that I was doing.
Absolutely, and really with all the stunt work he's doing, a key foundation movement we're going to incorporate is the Romanian deadlift to strengthen the posterior chain. He's doing a 4-second negative with this, and then a 2-second pause at the bottom, and then coming back up and contracting the glutes. And the whole key here is just maximizing time under tension, so he's able to fatigue the muscles more, but not overstress his nervous system and his adrenals.
Yeah, which helps because the days are long, and it's important for me as an actor to go through all of this, whether it be in the morning or the evening, and still have the ability to come to set and perform as an actor to the highest level, to have the endurance to do all the stunts without getting injured, and to have the neurological capacity to be a great partner to my showrunner.
He's doing a 4-second negative with this, and then a 2-second pause at the bottom, and then coming back up and contracting the glutes. What we do with this technique here is I have him utilize a hip circle above his knees. So basically, with incorporating that, he's activating his glute medius and really keeping the glutes activated and fired the whole time.
All right, the Romanian deadlift. First start off the bat. Phenomenal exercise. In my opinion, I like it more than normal deadlifts, and it's not necessarily for the point of overall, generally speaking. I'm mostly saying if you want to get stronger in the posterior chain throughout the hamstring, throughout the hips and the lower back, I believe the Romanian deadlift is by far more superior than the normal deadlift. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but deadlift is, well, you get strong with the deadlift and engages the most musculature, but for the most part, I believe the Romanian deadlift is by far underutilized. So I like the time under tension that he's doing as far as the 4 seconds down, 2 seconds at the bottom, and then repeating for, 3 sets of 10. So that's a lot of time under tension. That's a lot of, that's a pretty taxing demand on the body. And like you said, it's not so neurally demanding because a heavy compound deadlift, let's say not even a 1RM, let's just say close to that 85% or higher, yes, it is very neurologically demanding. It is going to fatigue you in a kind of neurological sense, not necessarily physically. And I try to tell this to a bunch of athletes and clients that I've trained. We're only doing a couple reps, but you are going to feel exhausted for some sort of reason. Part of you is just going to be drained, and that's when you do these heavy compound movements like a deadlift, like a back squat, and it's near that 1RM because there's so much neural activation going. But the Romanian deadlift, while it does have neural activation going, it is much more tamed and controlled. I want to put it that way. That's probably not the best way, but you kind of understand what I'm saying. They're mostly focused on time under tension, which is going to A, strengthen, and B, that endurance that he was talking about. So I love it.
So the next exercise we're utilizing here is a hyperextension. We're actually doing this on a glute ham machine, which is going to be more challenging than a traditional hyperextension machine. And what we're focusing on here is isolation, really contracting the glutes at the top, holding each repetition for 2 seconds, and really continuing the conversation and making sure the posterior chain is as strong as possible.
When it comes to the posterior chain and the kind of stunts I have to do, especially when it's pirouettes with swords, anything which is based upon one leg movement where a knee can have a bad injury if you don't have that glute medialis engaged or that posterior chain, this stuff is what saves me.
And the focus here is again on isolating the posterior chain, really activating the glutes in the lower back. He's performing the repetitions by pausing at the top for 2 seconds and really squeezing and engaging those glutes. And then his hands are behind his head, which actually makes the movement a little bit more challenging, engaging a little bit more of the erectors as well.
Okay, another great exercise and actually done phenomenally well. A lot of times when you see this hyperextension, whether it's the, full parallel to the ground or even at the slight incline like the back extension machines, most people are hinging off of it, but they are coming up using their lower back. So they're not actually engaging the glutes in order to, bring themselves back up. Because as soon as you engage those glutes and you squeeze those glutes really tight, the initial thing that happens is it's a hip extensor. So you are going to extend back up via your hip, not your lower back. That's not to say your back is not being engaged and utilized. That just means that you are utilizing your glutes far more. And as far as holding it at the top, yes, I believe that's the best way to do it instead of knocking out a bunch of reps. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm saying it's probably more efficient to be holding it at the top and then coming back. But what he said about the glute, as far as the posterior chain, I believe the posterior chain is by far the most important aspect of the body, along with, obviously rotator cuff muscles and, but that's beside the point. But the anterior side of the body, which is like the front part, the chest, abs, etc., those are the show muscles. So those are the things that people like to look at when they look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, oh, I look pretty damn good. I've been training really hard. But the back side of the body, the back, the glutes, the hamstrings, that's the posterior chain. those are the go muscles. Those are the muscles that are going to save you in these kind of dire situations of movement. And if you want to get stronger, posterior chain. If you want more endurance, posterior chain. If you just want to be healthier and more fit without lower back pain, knee problems, etc., posterior chain. That's where you want to get strong at. So you're not going to see it most of the time unless you, well, yeah, I mean, you can check out your butt in the mirror and those kind of things, but it's not like people look at those all the time. So they are by far underappreciated compared to the anterior side of the body. So I love to see those two movements.
Another key to Henry's training here is really focusing on core strength. So this movement we're doing here is an oblique static hold. And what he's doing here, he's extending his arms, he's holding in his core tight, and basically what this is allowing us to do is activate the transverse abdominals and the obliques at the same time. He's also keeping his glutes engaged. By extending his arms out and then inward, he's making the movement even more challenging. So typically what we'll do is he'll hold it out here for about 30 seconds, and then he'll go into extensions.
And with this especially, this helps with one, endurance when I have to do a fight scene over and over and over again with a sword. If I'm using the real sword, real weighted sword, it's very heavy and requires lots of endurance to do the moves safely and perfectly each time. And it also allows for nice sword, explosive movement, which is very typical for the Witcher.
Again, another phenomenal exercise. So this is core training. This is what I do in my core conditioning class all the time for my clients and athletes, especially rotational athletes like baseball players, throwers, etc. So the obliques need to be, well, you need to learn how to stabilize your core. So any unwanted flailing or movement like that, is leakage of energy. So if I'm running or I'm throwing and I have this unwanted movement at the torso where there's just unwanted rotation, that's going to leak energy. It may cause back problems. It may cause some other problem up or down the chain. So getting that strong and stabilized is exactly what we want. So that's the Palloff press. So Palloff press was founded by a physical therapist named Palloff back in 2005, I want to say. And ever since then, it's had many different variations. So like they said, if you want to make it more challenging, going down to a kneeling position, I personally love the half kneeling position when you're in that one leg stance kind of kneeling position. Sometimes I'm in a double kneeling position. That's like a really hard variation. Sometimes I'm even on the ground in like a glute bridge or something. So there are many ways to do that. I love that movement and I do it all the time for myself and my clients as well.
For this role, Henry needed to do a lot of sword fighting. So with the sword fighting, the key for the training was to really focus on the shoulders, making sure the shoulders are strong, and then also that muscular endurance is there for the shoulders. This movement here is a variation of side laterals and front raises. So each repetition is actually 3 repetitions. He's starting out in a traditional side lateral for the first rep, then he's coming a little further forward for the next one, and then doing a traditional front raise for the next one. So this allows us to target the medial deltoid and the anterior deltoid in one movement.
As Dave said, this really helps with the sword fighting aspect. Swords are typically very, very heavy, and when you're using them all day long, over and over and over again, every day, it really does help to have that muscular endurance in the shoulders and the strength to be able to move in explosive movements and also control, because when you're film fighting, you're not going through for kill strikes. You're pulling the blow at the last second, but you have to keep that speed up between the striking moment and the stopping moment to make it look realistic. And so the extra strength and endurance in the shoulders really helps with that.
He's starting out in a traditional side lateral for the first rep, then he's coming a little further forward for the next one, and then doing a traditional front raise for the next one.
Of course.
So this exercise we're performing here is going to be a dumbbell curl alternating from a static hold.
Yeah, for the sword work in particular, again, it's what this really helps with is my forearms. That constant time under pressure. When you're holding a sword, the first few takes are fine. When you're into take 16 of the day and you're doing very complex movements with your wrist, your forearm does start to die, and you then end up throwing swords across the room rather than making a swing. And so it does make a big difference to have that muscular endurance in the forearm especially. With horse riding also, this can make a difference because if you have a particularly powerful horse, whether it be a stallion or anything else, which is really, really going for it, to have that necessary heave back on the bit, it does help. It does help to have extra strength there.
What's unique about this exercise is it allows us to keep the biceps under tension for a longer period of time. It allows us to get more activation out of the forearms, and then also continue working on that muscular endurance that is so important for his role.
Let's break down those two exercises first. All right, so the three-way shoulder raises, okay, obviously localized muscular endurance, just adding extra volume to the shoulders. And yeah, it makes sense. You're swinging around a sword all day long, a potentially real sword, probably going to be taxing and fatiguing on the muscles. So I get it. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I think the three-way raise was also in Chris Hemsworth workout, so it's a very common way of hitting the shoulders, you know, all aspects of the shoulders. Overhead pressing tends to be the best way to develop shoulders in general, but if you're localizing certain areas of the shoulder, then yeah, it makes sense. Okay, the bicep curl. So what he said as far as just the forearm, time under tension obviously seems to be the focus that they have, and that goes into the role that he has, so it makes sense. So that's a good variation for the bicep curls that I've done before, and I kind of switch up the bicep kind of exercises just to kind of mix it up a little bit. But yeah, if you're looking for more tension, getting the forearms a little bit more, you know, juiced up, then yeah, that kind of iso alternating bicep curl works pretty phenomenally well. And the cue that they had, bringing the pinky up to the ceiling, so that just emphasizes the supination. So supination is where I turn the hand up to the ceiling, and pronation is where I turn the hand down. So the bicep, not only is it a, you know, elbow flexor, it bends the elbow, it also is a supinator. So when you rotate your hand to the ceiling, you'll notice that the bicep starts to kind of roll up a little bit. That's partially what the bicep does too. So the best ways to utilize the bicep is the elbow flexion and the supination and a little bit of shoulder flexion, just a little bit, where I bring the arm up a little bit because I don't want the arm stuck back here and kind of negating that shoulder flexion. So those three aspects are the best ways to utilize the biceps. I love all of it.
Right, everyone, well, that's it. And what we've shown you today has been a selection of moves that is not a workout in particular, but those are moves which we put into workouts depending on which muscle group or muscle groups we are working for that particular day. The most important thing to remember is that you are you. Everyone has a different genetic makeup. Everyone is at a different stage of fitness or training, or even has a different amount of calories going in. So you do you, and just make sure each workout is the hardest that you can do it. Don't look at the person next to you, just work out whether you worked as hard as you could for that workout.
Okay, I love the message at the end. That's exactly spot on. Everyone is different. Everyone's gonna have different goals. They're gonna have different, you know, genetic makeup, training experience, or whatever they're doing initially. So for the most part, yeah, you want to do your own thing. You can take aspects of this and it might work for you, it might not work for you. Fasted cardio may not work for you. If you're trying to lean out and it works for you, then phenomenal, congrats. And then as far as like what he said, as far as they're just exercises that are utilized in given workouts, like, okay, yeah, I like it, because obviously it's not a full workout, but these exercises were phenomenal. I loved every single one of them. The Romanian deadlift, the hyperextension, the isometric oblique hold, the Palloff press hold, and then the three-way shoulder raise and the bicep curl. So overall, if you're trying to hit those areas, those are some phenomenal exercises to get the biggest bang for your dollar as far as those muscles go. So I was a huge fan of it overall. Obviously, you look at Henry, dude is pretty freaking huge. And I think he's even bigger than he was in Superman. So dude's obviously been putting in work, and obviously you can tell. Again, this is just for educational entertainment purposes only. Please do not do anything that I say or do because I say them or do them. So for the most part, I love the workout. That was perhaps one of my favorite reactions so far, and I love to see more of Henry Cavill's workouts in the future if they come out and about. So for the most part, we'll keep these rolling and going, and then if you haven't yet, please hit the like button, subscribe, let your friends know where you're getting all of this amazing content from, and again, till next time.